What is going on, guys? Bobby Fi today, just flying solo. Sheets is out right now. Hope he has a nice weekend. Hope you guys have had a good day. Sorry not to make the morning. I'm going to be kind of in and out, as I mentioned, over the next couple of weeks. But we're getting ready for football and looking forward to that. I'm excited about tonight's slate. It's a nice, huge slate where I think you don't have to worry too much about ownership from a hitting perspective. And I think that's really nice when we can do that because there's a lot of stacks that I like. And some of them actually are going to be like completely unknown. So I'm going to start off with my favorite stacks. While you guys are in there, just jump on in. Please hit the like button and all that. But jump in and say what you guys like tonight. And I think there's a lot of ways to go. There's a lot of stacks that I'm not going to get to that I think are extremely viable just because there's so many good spots in the slate. So with that said, here is what I'm doing. My top stacks, and it's sort of a three-way tie, are Philly, the Dodgers, and Atlanta. Nothing unusual there. I do think I'm giving Philly a little bit more of a priority. They also have some cheap bats that make it easier to get them in. But I do like the Philly, Dodgers, Atlanta as a sort of my core stacks. My favorite, and it's not that getting weird, I really like the Toronto stack. I think Toronto is a very sneaky stack that people aren't paying enough attention to. Then you get the KC, St. Louis, which are going to be the chalkiest teams. I think you use them more as fillers. That's what I'm doing anyway. That's the way I'm treating it. I don't mind if you want to go full stack, but those are the only ownerships where if you just fully stack that game, I think you might run yourself into a little bit of trouble. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And then there's Milwaukee. But I have Philly, the Dodgers, Atlanta, and Toronto as my top four in that order. And then some KC, St. Louis pieces, and then Milwaukee as a full stack. So that's where you're at. K9 Bronco likes Houston, San Diego, Milwaukee. It's interesting that I didn't really consider that much Houston tonight, and I think that's a very viable stack. There's a lot of things you can do. San Diego, I understand certainly against Nelson here, but I just am not getting there myself. I prefer spending up for the other stacks than playing San Diego. Although you do have G-Man Choi, who's projected to be in the lineup, who might be 2,400, who might be, I don't know where he'll be in the lineup, if he's in the lineup at all. But I think, that makes it a little bit more stomachable for the San Diego. 150 likes the Royals, Cardinals, Philly, and Oakland. I kind of like the Oakland idea. It's rare that I get onto the Oakland full stack thing, but I think if there was a day to do it, this might be a decent day. I'm also, in all fairness, playing pitchers in both sides of that game, both Blackburn and Joe Nadon. So I have some of those guys as well. I'm glad to hear that Benny Hanna likes Toronto and Oakland too, and he thinks Boston bounces back. The only thing I have so I like Skubal a lot as a pitcher. I think he's actually really good. He keeps the ball on the ground, and I think he's going to have an incredibly bright future. So I'm actually more on the Skubal side than Boston. I am using some Boston pieces as like for value and things like that. You've got some cheap pieces in their lineup that you could definitely go with. Reyes is 2,600 still. I wish Casas was a little higher in the lineup. I don't know if most people realize it. Casas has been legitimately the best hitter in baseball over the last month. Not really up for debate, to be honest with you. He's been absolutely terrific, just crushing the ball. It is a lefty-lefty matchup, but so I understand that. I understand certainly that idea. I just did not get there as much myself. My pitchers, I am gonna eat a lot of the Lance Lynn chalk. You get Colorado on the road; it's hard for me to say no. I am going to eat some of the. Who else am I eating? I'm eating a little bit of Verlander, but I actually am going to be below the field on Verlander. I'm just going to go through the most owned pitchers and say whether I'll be over or underweight on them. Lance Lynn, I am going to be with the field roughly. I'll be a little under on Verlander. I'll be a little under on Castillo. I'll be a little bit under, probably right about with the field on Christopher Sanchez. Probably right about with the field on Adon. And I'll be way over the field on Blake Snell and Corbin Burns. I think it's really easy to build stacks, and you can play the two guys who can get you 35. And I think it's interesting. And people may not realize this. Snell has faced this Arizona team. I think this will be his fifth or sixth start. And they have not touched him, basically. He also has a 40% strikeout rate against the lineup that's projected to be out there. I love the idea of getting to some Snell and Burns at low ownership. I'm very, very high on those guys. So I will be overweight on those two. I'm going to be below, I'm not going to play. I think I have one Barrios lineup. I don't have much Morton either, but I'm definitely open to it. I'm going to be well over the field on Blackburn, not getting to Stripling much. I am playing some Andrew Abbott. I am playing the worst pitcher potentially in baseball this season, Adam Wainwright. I am going to gamble and play some of that 5,500 nonsense because I think it's actually very reasonable. Oviedo and Wainwright as my, you can sort of get in all the bats you want if you play those two guys together. So I do have some of that. A Dodger lineup just came out. Looks pretty good. I'm going to have to double check it. Kike is batting 5th. Chris Taylor is batting 7th. Peralta is batting 8th. And Outman is batting 6th. So just Outman in the lefty-lefty. I think that's an interesting spot to use him. So I'll take some shots there. Anyway, that's sort of where I'm at with pitching. I'm happy to talk through whatever else you guys want to talk through. Sheets loves to do these, and he does the builds and everything. I've already done my builds. I put my builds up in the premium channel for those of you who are premium members. And again, just throw in any thoughts or ideas or anything that we can go back and forth. I never liked doing solo shows. When I worked at Roto Grinders for years, I didn't like doing them. I only like them when it's really engaging with the chat. I love doing the crunch time shows on when I was at RG because you just have millions of questions going on. So I'm into questions. I'm into you guys tell me what you like, and I'll poke holes or I'll say I like it too. I think there's a lot of routes to go today. So what's up to Sam Dustu? Skubal or Gibson? Do I think Keuchel explodes tonight? I am going to play Philly against Keuchel. So yes, I guess I think he does to some extent. I like Skubal better than Gibson, but I'm not going to fault you for either way. I think that they're both completely viable, and I have no issue with either one of them. But I am going more Skubal than Gibson personally. That's just my personal take. What stacks do I like on FanDuel? It's the same thing pretty much for me, Clay. I think it's easier to get to the Dodgers over there, so they'll be more owned. I just think you have to be a little bit more concerned about ownership on FanDuel because I do think the Dodgers will be pretty popular. And they would be my favorite because they're easy to get to over there. I think I would prefer the Dodgers in Atlanta more on FanDuel than I would Philly, just because I don't love Philly's lineup, but I do love the spot. So I would say Dodgers, Atlanta, and Toronto would be my favorite stacks on FanDuel personally. That's the route I'm going, and you can always do the double thing that I love to do. My favorite FanDuel move is either play 2 first basemen or 2 catchers a catcher and a first baseman in the utility. I think that's a really good way to go. So I like that you can get the Toronto low-owned combination of the Belt and Vlad Guerrero together. I would love to do that. Here's a good one. QQ, Texas, John Gray versus San Francisco. Why are we not playing John Gray? So let's think about this one. I actually think John Gray is a very reasonable play. I agree. I'm totally good with it because I feel like everybody else in these ranges and at low ownership, I think you could definitely make the case for John Gray here. I'm not I didn't get to him much, but I'm totally on board if that's the way you want to go. I think that's a good question, and I think it's a very viable route. Not what I'm doing personally, but I totally understand it. We've seen San Francisco; they're a boom bust offense that strikes out a lot against righties. Simple as that. On FanDuel 20 max, do I prefer a 4-3 or 4-4 mix? Great question, Mike. I would prefer I like to do more correlating on FanDuel. So 4-4 would be the ideal, but you don't need to do it. 4-3-1, 4-2-2. Those are all very viable. Even some 3-3-2s I would get to in a 20 max. Maybe I would have 2 3-3-2s out of 20 lineups. Maybe I would have 8 4-4s and maybe 4 or 5 4-3s, something like that. So that's probably what I would do there. Thoughts on the Cubs, low ownership, and still the Cubs can hit, no question about it. I'm not going to do a full stack against Barrios on this slate. I just don't think that's the best route to take. But if you want to go ahead and do it, I'm not going to say that you're wrong to. It's just I don't see the reason, and it's not like you're getting super cheap bats or anything like that with playing the Cubbies. So I'm not as into the Cubs, but I'm definitely not going to fault anybody for doing it. It's just not what I'm doing personally. Barrios, even when he struggles, doesn't really get hammered like I mean, you go back in his games, is there any game, maybe one game, not even that game, like, is there any games you would, oh, he had the one really bad start early in the year where he gave up 8 runs against KC. That was really early in the year. One bad start where he gave up 5 runs. Other than that, he really just doesn't get hit hard enough for me to play the Cubs. That's the reason why I'm not doing it. They are going to be low owned. I have no problem if you want to go ahead and do it. It's not what I'm doing personally, but I am totally cool with it if you want to. Like I said, you can make cases, I think, for like 15 different stacks that are all, I don't even think that they're like okay stacks. I think they're actually like really good stacks today. So I expect somebody to go off and score 12 runs. I expect there to be a 3 home run plus for a team game, maybe 4. I just think it's that kind of a slate where you're going to get somebody's going to go completely berserk. So I'm on DraftKings. I'm led to more 5-3s and some 4-4s, but mostly 5-3s. That's a good question. 150 is not me. A favorite one-off on the slate. Here's the problem with the one-off. So as I mention all the time, like ownership in baseball does need to be factored in. When you talk about one-offs, I think that so most people would say, I think that the obvious answer is Mookie Betts and Acuna are always the best one-offs, or almost always the best one-offs. What I would say is the best one-off today would be Shohei. Ohtani is going to be completely unowned. He is the best player in baseball by a significant amount, not even really particularly close. So I like the idea of playing a little bit of Ohtani at I mean, he'll get a little ownership, but at very, very, very low ownership. I think that's a really, really good one-off. Also love Vlad Guerrero and Brandon Belt as one-offs today. So I think that would be my favorite. In terms of a cheap one-off, the guy who I have the most of for cheap one-off is, I have some Olivares, but I mostly have those as like little mini stacks. Matt Beatty, I have, again, more mini stacks as a cheap play. Pablo Reyes is a cheap option at shortstop, so I have some of that. But the cheap guys I'm not like totally in love with. Alec Burleson, I do like, but he's going to have some ownership as well. Wilson Contreras, just different. Those are just some different positions. I'll go through real quickly just what I have at positions. I have Contreras, Will Smith, Real Muto, Maldonado just because the price, and d'Arnaud as my favorite catchers. I have Vlad, Alec Baum, Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson as my favorite first baseman, a little bit of Brandon Belt. Kevin Biggio is probably my highest owned one-off, batting 5th now for Toronto. Biggio has a little pop, definitely some pinch hit risk there, but I like the idea of using some Biggio today at 2,400 at second. Mookie Betts is my favorite overall spend up, and then you got Reyes, you can play at second or short. Third base, Matt Chapman, Max Muncy, Chris Taylor. Let me just double check the Dodgers lineup. I actually don't think Muncy was even in it, so I'm going to have to rebuild my lineups when we get off of here. Yeah, no Muncy today, so going to have to rebuild some of my Dodger stuff. It would have been Muncy. Sosa is the cheap one who you play in Philly stacks. Chapman is one of my favorites. Chris Taylor and Kike Hernandez I love. But I have a ton of Chapman right now. Shortstop, Trey Turner is my favorite, and Arcia in Atlanta stacks, Edmund in St. Louis stacks. That's pretty much what I've got at short. A little bit of the very cheap option if you can't even get up to Reyes. I have some Malika Williams, which feels disgusting, but I'm doing some of it. Outfield, Springer, Merrifield, Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor, Kyle Schwarber, Castellanos, Olivares, Matt Beatty, Ronald Acuna, and Ozuna. We've got Marcell Ozuna, and then also Eddie Rosario I like quite a bit. I am high on the Braves today. How do we feel about Sanchez versus Minnesota? He's one of them that I'm going to be right near the field, maybe a little bit above on. I like the idea of it. I also think you can make a case for a very, very cheap mini stack of Minnesota, but I am going to play Christopher Sanchez and just bet on the long-term upside. That's just sort of what I do. And I think I'm going to do that today. So that's where I'm at. Any other questions before I get out of here? Guys, hit the like button. I have to change a bunch of my lineups, so keep firing away. I'm happy to go. Ton of Castellanos for 150 is not for 150, man. I think he goes deep, has a multi-hit game. I love that the Castellanos. I think he's a terrific play, and I really like Philly, so I'm totally on board with you, buddy. Anyway, what else? Is there anything else we want to touch on? If you guys haven't checked out Rody's playbook, make sure to check that out. He's got his stacks and, his highlighting system. He's talked a lot in Discord about how he goes about it. If you guys have any questions for him, he's always really great to respond, and he does a great job for us. So we're really happy to happy to have him. Happy he's doing such great work. And again, I'm asking you guys to hit the like button. And if there's no other thoughts, I'm probably going to get out of here and rebuild my lineups now that the Dodger lineup has come out, and they're pretty much a staple of a lot of my lineups. So anyway, guys, I want to say good luck to everybody tonight. I hope you all crush it, and let's make some money. I'll give it one more minute for questions while I'm just double checking all the lineups. And if nothing else comes in, I'm going to get out of here, but just waiting on y'all here. So, all right. Good luck to you as well. 150. Good luck. Thanks to everybody for being a part of our wonderful chat. I know it's Friday, so I hope you all enjoy the weekend. You guys know I'm not around on the weekends. Brody's going to try and do his best, but he's got some stuff going on this weekend, I know. Same with, and Goldie and Sheets should be in and out. So thanks a lot to guys. I appreciate it, Koss. Good luck, everybody.